ISTE Standard 2g, coach teachers in and model effective use of technology tools and resources to continuously assess student learning and technology literacy by applying a rich variety of formative and summative assessments aligned with content and student technology standards. This standard, I worked on it through so many different classes. I think every class had an aspect of assessment, but I first want to touch on how assessment and data works together. And this is a really important area because we talk about data and having a shared vision as educators as part of a school vision plan. But we may have a shared vision with our students as well. And on the student level, we usually call this a student buy-in to the assignment. And this is a way that we can get the students engaged so they share our vision of what we're doing with the data, why we're taking these formative and summative assessments, and why we're collecting all this data. What are we going to do with it? What are we going to learn from this? And we can use technology to do this and show them how to be assessed in different ways. And as I started with this website for the REACH program, I offered students multiple ways to demonstrate that they learned. One of the ones I use quite a bit is asking the students to write a reflection. In this one, they watched a YouTube video of a TED Talk about something that people have in common that are successful, and to reflect on whether they agree or disagree with the speaker, why or why not. So this gives the students a chance to think about what they're learning. I tell them all the time, there's no right or wrong answer unless you don't answer. Not answering or saying, I agree to impact my life, or I don't agree, I don't have examples, or IDK. These are the only ways that you can really get these reflection questions wrong. So I leave it very broad for the students, and we turn these in on Google Classroom. So they have a quick way to write, and I'm able to assess them on this. And it's not just listening to me speak all the time. They get to watch videos, and they enjoy watching the videos. As we go through, we gather data from the students. We have a little formative assessment here where the students are just filling in data on the form. I can see that they've taken the time to look at their data. Section 3, now we're getting a little more in depth, where the students are asked to think about their data. What are we going to do with it? And kind of give a little bit of a self-assessment. Think about their areas of strength or weaknesses. Again, this is something formative. It's low pressure for the students. And they get to go watch some more videos and think about study skills that they can use. So this is an ongoing assessment. They're doing a lot of reflective activities. But finally, for our summative assessment, they are able to take one of the steps they did on the previous formative assessment, where they are been reflecting on their own data. They found something that they've used in their classes to help them be successful in sharing that with others. This is a great way through Screencast-O-Matic to share what their learning is. So it's a great summative assessment. During another class, we were asked to design a course that would take place on Blackboard. And during this, one of the formative assessment tools that I used was having students participate in weekly discussions. So this gives a chance to do that. Another one was to ask students to create blogs. And on these blogs, they would be answering weekly questions that went along with what we're reading. And again, having that chance to share their thoughts in kind of a low-pressure environment. Some of these would be public sharing, and some would be for teachers' eyes only. And this, again, gives students a chance to learn and share what they're learning. And again, it's a sort of low pressure, I find technology to be kind of a little more low pressure way to do assessment. The students aren't as paranoid about sharing on technology as they are getting up in front of their classmates or even speaking in front of their classmates. Again, also incorporating some more traditional summative assessments, like in this case, having the students write an essay. But then going out and doing a few other things. We have our character autopsy assignment, where students were able to break down the character piece by piece, and they can do this online, taking a picture of somebody and breaking down the character. Another assignment that uses technology that was a great summative assessment was to give students an oral presentation that they record. The advantage to doing this type of assessment that I encourage teachers to do is because when you're giving a presentation in person with students, there's a lot of lag time. And students, we have a lot of wasted time in classes. Students get up in front of the class, they're not always ready. And when they do a video presentation where it's recorded or a screencast, everybody who's done has turned it into the teacher. We're able to hit play instead of waiting for students to get their stuff together, get their presentation ready. So I find that during recorded presentations, we have a lot less dead time in class, which really helps with classroom management. There's less time for the students to find other ways to occupy that time. And so this is a way that these small changes with technology can really help our classes be a little more streamlined. And by showing through these assignments, we've modeled this for the teachers and can give an explanation of why these types of assessments will be a little more beneficial to them. And again, I like using these types of assessments because there's so many different ways that students learn and to demonstrate knowledge. It's frustrating when a teacher thinks that there's only one way to share what you've learned. Even in English, there's so many different ways to share what you've learned. There's different ways to show that you've learned math concepts. In science, there's just a large variety. And when we use technology, we give students options, and that really helps to empower them. And I want to talk a little bit about this this data use theory. And this was part of my Empowering Students Through Data Literacy project. But I think it goes to how we approach assessment with students as well. We start with a purpose. We have our objectives of what we're teaching our students. We gather data through little formative assessments early in the process and use that information then to decide what type of knowledge the students need. We give them options for that knowledge, and then we ask them to take action. And that action is participating in these variety of assessments, whether they're formative or summative. And we take that information and we use that as our feedback. These are our outcomes, and then we start the process again. But our whole purpose in this is finding ways to assess our students, to support the variety of student learners. And through this process, gathering data and using these formative and summative assessments really empower us as educators to make these changes and to support our students in their learning.